Hello and welcome to the North American Guitar HQ here in Fulham, London. I'm joined today for a very special edition of Talking Guitar by my friend Adam Miller, who's flown in all the way from Australia. Adam and I have known each other for a number of years. He is a fantastic fingerstyle guitarist, and we're really looking forward to his performance tonight. So welcome, Adam.
Thank you
for joining us.
Thank you.
I thought we could have a bit of a chat about influences, because you have a very different style to what a lot of UK guitarists are used to seeing.
Yeah, sure.
Off you go.
Where do we begin?
Yeah, where do we begin?
Basically, I guess the first full-on guitar hero I had was Tommy Emmanuel, which seems kind of, I guess, obvious these days, but when I was growing up, Tommy was like predominantly an electric guitar player in Australia, and he was basically pop star status. So he was on all the major like television Tonight shows. Tommy in Australia is a household name, full stop, not just amongst guitar players. He's just, if you think of a good guitar player, you think Tommy Emmanuel. So I actually got really into his stuff as predominantly as an electric player, and I loved his electric guitar stuff. Probably more so than his acoustic stuff in those days, to be honest. So, but as things let out, like it kind of, I ended up playing the first ever solo acoustic show I actually ever did was opening for Tommy when I was 19 years old or something. So it kind of all developed full circle, I guess, a few years later. But I'd started sort of playing all those Tommy Emmanuel stuff from when I was like, 10 years old.
Really?
So like his arrangement of Blue Moon and things like that.
Oh, that's a classic.
Yeah. So was working on all those sort of things then. Yeah. And then, would you like me to keep going at this stage?
Please do.
Or you don't want to probe me with more questions?
No.
Okay, good. So it was... so I kind of was into all the Chet Atkins sort of Tommy Emmanuel stuff to learn to play because I really dug it, but it didn't work very well when doing gigs not playing with Tommy Emmanuel, to be honest. So at the same time, I was also into a lot of funk, groove and jazz sort of things and things like, the Chili Peppers and Rage Against the Machine. And then I just started to get into a whole lot of jazz stuff and a lot of Australian guitar players actually that haven't really ever broken overseas too much. Guys like James Muller, who's, one of John Scofield and Alan Holdsworth's favourite guitar players, but he's not very well known. He's the top jazz guitarist in Australia, but he's unbelievable. So I was kind of into all that, but could never really work out how to do it solo. So I'd play in bands and play electric guitar and that sort of thing. And it wasn't until really coming across like John Mayer actually was the first guy I heard that played something kind of sort of funky and acousticy all at the same time, and his song Neon, and I was pretty blown away by what he was doing there. And then a little further research led me into that a lot of that was inspired by Charlie Hunter. And so Charlie's probably then been my other biggest influence on my playing other than Tommy, in that, he can, for those that aren't familiar with him, he started off years ago playing an 8-string guitar, which was the bottom 3 strings of the bass and the top 5 strings of the guitar, and he basically took on both roles in the band. So drummer and him, and you set.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was the first idea of hearing someone that could actually incorporate this sort of more groove style of playing, but also improvisation into their, I guess, fingerstyle playing, which I was very attracted to that idea of things.
Well, yeah, obviously. I mean, you have an incredible independence and fluidity when it comes to improvising over the bass line.
Yeah.
Has that come from the Chet sort of clawhammer stuff more, or more listening to Charlie?
I guess it's a combination of both. I think the Chet, clawhammer, boom chick, whatever weird term you want to use for it. Yeah. I think the independence you learn from that stuff certainly gets you to a little bit of that stage. Without having that degree of independence between your thumb and fingers, it's hard to kind of move on. But certainly, Charlie's playing there, but without already having that grasp of that sort of thing, I think it would have been probably impossible for me to look at. It wasn't like, you know, I could see it and go, oh wow, okay, so that's attainable. Whereas, you know, if I probably didn't have that idea of the alternating bass lines under my fingers already, I would have just thought it was, you know, digital wizardry.
Yeah, it's a scary prospect when you see that thing happening.
Yeah.
For the first time.
Yeah, and that's, I guess the thing about it is, especially with that, like Charlie's sort of playing and mine, is that it doesn't run to a formula as well. Like, you don't really learn pieces as much. It's actually having an understanding of your fretboard and your guitar to the extent that you can work out wherever you are at any time.
Exactly.
And, you know, it's one of the reasons I don't play in any sort of alternate tuning.
Right.
Because when I look at a guitar, and this comes actually, I learned organ before I played guitar.
Really?
But I see the guitar as black and white notes still. Mm-hmm. When I look down, I see, I have white, 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 black, black. So that if that gets changed, I'm screwed. It'd be like changing where the notes are on a piano. I get totally lost. I can't play by, you know, playing by feel comes from knowing where everything is, not just going, oh, that sounds pretty, I'll put my fingers here. Mm-hmm. But it also leads to being able to, you know, improvise very freely over anything almost instantly, and come up with arrangements very easily as well, because it's just like, oh yeah, well, that's the chord, that's the bass line, that's the melody, we'll just throw them together. My theory has all come out of having to know it. So when I learned theory,
that's the best way.
It wasn't, yeah, it was like, you know, I was getting into listening to jazz and I'd hear someone do something and I'd go, okay, well, what was that? And then I'd work it out for myself backwards, and you know, to the point of things like
engineering.
Yeah, totally. Like you know, a lot of my playing comes from, I guess you would say, chord theory. Whereas if you understand how to make the chord, then you would understand the scale that needs to go over it. And I kind of learnt my modes and all those sort of things backwards that way. In that I worked out the chord first and how to adjust basically a major or minor scale to fit that chord, right. And then it was years later I realised that, oh, so that's what modes are. That, you know, I was already playing all these things, but I didn't really know what they were called, but I had a very definite explanation of why I would play it anyway.
So obviously you've listened to a lot of jazz guitar. Do you listen to other instrumentalists as well?
Not so much. It's funny, I really am attracted to the guitar as an instrument. I kind of like, for the most part, it really is the guitar, and I've studied a little bit of organ playing, and a couple of other things just to kind of get into it, and try to replicate it in a way, in the way you voice a guitar and the way you physically play it. But I gotta say, like, yeah, the guitar is really my love. So usually for me to actually put on anything and listen to it, I'm listening to guitar tone first and foremost, and then after that I can work out whether I can listen to the rest of the music going on. Yeah.
What advice have you got for players that are trying to develop this independence between the different parts of the right hand?
I think it's kind of just to take it slow. No matter what you're doing, you've got to actually take your time to build up to certain things. And unfortunately, it's not an instant result thing. You're not going to be actually, kicking goals within the first few weeks or maybe months or maybe years. And, for me, from when I probably first heard Charlie Hunter, which was in about 2002, it was probably not really until about, 2011 that I was comfortable to record something solo like that. I was still more comfortable in a drummer and a bass player still implying that groove underneath than rather than totally pulling it off myself. So it was definitely, a long process in being able to comfortably do that. Yeah. Yeah. Time.
Take your time.
Yeah, totally.
It's about time.
Yeah.
Adam's newest album, Shifting Units, is available now. Here's the link. Thank you very much, my man.
Thanks, man.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah.